Modern day HSR doom posting is an absolute joke. Now, I've already been aware of this for multiple patches, and this was one of the main reasons why I experienced such a big burnout a few patches ago, was because of me trying to actually tell people how valuable Yao Guang was and clearing up the constant misinformation that was being spread on social media by agenda posters. Right? That shit left me out for quite a long time because of the amount of videos I needed to make, clearing up the misinfo about her getting replaced and her barely doing anything for the Elation characters. And now it just feels the same. Every beta feels the same, and every beta it just gets worse and worse. As meta becomes a more common topic of discussion and more casual players get into it in agenda posters, it just becomes a cesspool with completely insufferable people who are constantly just pushing agenda instead of having any meaningful conversation, right? And this beta is another amazing example of this outside of Yao Guang's, right? Well, to be honest, even Ashvale's. People were doom posting Ashvale saying he was completely done for after his V3 and V4 changes. Then he gets Emblade and now everybody glazes Ashvale like he's the best character that this game has ever released because of the fact that he can buff and as well as have a high amount of damage output. Now, in this new beta, people are also doom posting incredibly stupidly, may I add, all because they're throwing hissy fits at the fact that the kits of these characters are not the exact same as they were in V1 when there was fucking 5 different ult loops because of the way their kits worked back then, right? And as of recent with V4, it was spread across all social medias that Saber x Gilga had gotten massively nerfed after V4. This guy doesn't matter for Saber anymore. Saber can just use E2 Cyrene and she's better than using Gilga for him. Oh my god, he's absolutely ruined. He does nothing for Saber. His main DPS got nerfed. What is he gonna do? Absolutely fucking a joke that this community is these days. Nobody actually being able to use 2 brain cells together to think about what these changes actually change and how they may affect a team's performance, right? So what were the V4 changes that people are doom posting so hard about Gilga about, especially Saber mains, when Saber teams were the ones that got hit the least hard, right? It is the fact that his interest now gives himself a 10% speed buff per stack with no cap in comparison to the previous action advance. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, this is so much worse. So you know what I did? I went out of my way to check out full E0S1 Premium Saber x Gilga team clears in the previous version before this change happened, so I could get a reference of how many turns it is that on average Gilga will get in, let's say, a 0 cycles 150 AV. What I found is that a majority of the time he'd get 2 and sometimes 3 turns with correct and optimal play, and you get the action advances at a good time, right? And then when I looked at the V4 gameplays, he also got 2 turns consistently every single time. However, 3 turns was where it was hard. So Gilga lost 1 turn per 150 AV at times in comparison to the old V3. And this is so useless of a change. I can't believe people are talking about like this guy got completely bricked and he lost absolutely all value to him. In the first place, he's free anyway, so you can just get him, right? He loses 1 skill. His skill, unless he's E2, has the most insignificant damage on this planet. It provides nearly nothing. It's only semi-useful at E1 because he gets a fixed 40 energy whenever he uses his skill. And then the one other thing that this skill provides outside of that is contributing 1 attack to the cap 8 attack joint attack that Saber has, right? 1/8 of a joint attack and like 200k damage from a skill. And then people completely ignore the fact that his attack and crit damage buff are now both 40% higher for his Saber team, meaning the buffs outweigh the change to his action advance, right? The team that got nerfed the hardest was not Sabers, it was Ashblade. Because in Ashblade, with significantly more frequent attacks and ultimates in comparison to the Saber team, at least for now, until Sunday Nova comes out, the reality is that was the team where he got his interest stacks the fastest of any other one, meaning his action advance was actually quite consistent and quite valuable. So in Ashblade teams, he has been nerfed. I believe it's like an average of he needs one more cost in comparison to before in V3 and Ashblade teams to be able to really match that performance that he used to have. However, in Saber teams, I promise you, this guy barely fucking changed. Yet you go on social media and you'd think this guy is on the same tier as Arlon, right? It is just so embarrassing how people run away with these agendas and shit. And the worst part is when people take the first videos that come out when a new version releases and then use those specific videos for their agendas, because they know if they wait any longer for the people who actually know how to semi-play these teams, then they'd see that they're absolutely overreacting, but they don't want to admit that. They're just here to push an agenda because either they have a bias towards a character they like and they want them to be significantly stronger, or they have a bias to a character they dislike and they want to agenda post how bad they are, right? It's a joke no matter which way you look at it. For example, I recently saw a clear from someone. This was a 5-cost 0-cycle clear against a non-wind weak Flame Reaver. And on top of this, Gilga is for free, so it's technically an effective 4. Huo is for free in the Golden Token Shop. This is an effective 3-cost sustain team for 99% of the player base, able to 0-cycle a non-wind weak Flame Reaver, and people are in the comments saying, oh, how she's falling. Oh my god, Brickbur, Gilgamesh does fucking nothing for this team now. It's so garbage. It's so much worse than V1. Why can't we go back to V1? I try to explain to people in the comments, yo, this is an effective 3-cost sustain 0-cycle, and you're talking as if it's the worst thing to ever grace this game. And then they're like, oh, but if you look at V1 Saber was unintended. She was the top 1 DPS in the entirety of the fucking game because she generated so much energy with how frequent the joint attacks with Gilga were that even if it wasn't a technical infinite ult loop at times, it was still so strong to the point where you'd barely consume any AV every single time RMC gives an action advance, right? It was incomprehensibly strong. So yes, it's weaker than V1, but that's obvious. V1's performance was just not intended, and in comparison to V3, it just isn't even all that much worse to be doing all this doom posting with, especially considering these Fate banners are legit the only banners that are on 24/7 year long. You never have any FOMO of like, oh, I need to wait for this banner to come around. That's never an issue. It's always there. You're always free to upgrade this team at any point that you like. And E1 Gilga is a pretty strong Eidolon, right? So instead, I'm getting fucking downvoted to hell. On YouTube, people are saying that I'm wrong and I'm the one trying to stop Saber from being better. I have an E2 S1 Saber. I only benefit from it being stronger. But people are just so deluded in their agendas that they're calling 3-cost sustain 0-cycles mid and actually shit because it's not V1 Saber, right? It's just like, come the fuck on. You don't actually care about balance or anything in this game. You just want your favorite character to completely demolish the endgame content unapologetically, and you don't care if the infinite ult loops go live either. It's just so blatantly obvious, because otherwise none of this would actually be a genuine discussion. And even after this, not including Flame Reaver, since people like to say Flame Reaver is such an easy boss, Saber and Gilga still have a 3-cost 0-cycle against the Star Ward Calamity boss as well. It's just that this one is sustainless. What are you going to do about it, right? If you want sustain, it's obviously going to cost a little more. That's how every team works in this game. And Gilga is still getting good king clears. Not as good as before with Ashblade in his main DPS, but he is still getting his own good king clears, and he does still at least have some semblance of synergy, especially when you get his E1, considering his base cost is free, right? This team is cheaper than a majority of teams in this game. It outperforms a majority of Amphorius teams as well. It's on par with a lot of these 4.x teams, and people are somehow still complaining about it, saying that it's not enough. They ruined Gilgamesh, they ruined Saber. I'm so goddamn tired of it. I'm so sick of all the agendas that go on in this community and how it just continues to devolve and get worse and worse every single time a new beta releases. No, infinite ult loops are not going to make it to live. Is it on the incompetence of these devs in trying to constantly make teammates and teams where everybody generates resources for each other without even taking turns that this shit even exists in the first place? Yes, it's their own incompetence. You would not be wrong. However, what do you want them to do when they are getting rid of the core root issues causing these infinite ult loops, and then getting mad at them that these things are now gone and your character is no longer getting 1 cost 0 cycles and having like 80 million DPAV, or sorry, 80 million damage per 300 AV with like a 2 or 3 cost team, right? I mean, brother, at least the Saber mains, you know, they're a little more in line with the rest of the DPSs in the game. So maybe you can give them a little leeway. Why in the fucking world am I seeing Himiko mains cry about how the beta is going in the worst trajectory we've ever seen? Himiko's completely bricked. She's gonna get no after sales. Oh no, they're completely ruining Himiko over like a 24-25% overall nerf when she was already like 30% stronger than every other DPS in the entirety of the game. These people are crying about being a top 3 DPS that this game has to offer. It's absolutely fucking unbelievable the amount of hissy fits that people throw every time their favorite character isn't completely demolishing this game's damage ceiling. It's just like, come on, man. Right? Sorry for the rant. Oh my god, I'm so sorry for the rant. But I'm just getting to the point where it genuinely feels like this community just devolves every time a new beta cycle comes out, and nobody can even take 2 seconds out of their time to actually think about how certain beta changes would change a rotation and how a DPS is played. Instead, they just go off doom posting off of what they see right in front of their face and fucking auto gameplay. You know, the first videos of a new beta cycle, there's like 2 videos with auto gameplay. Oh my god, bricked, can't clear plight, absolutely fucking Jover with this team. Oh my god. Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you all have a great night. Peace out.